Hello everybody, I hope you are having a wonderful holiday so far, and if you aren't, I can only hope that it gets better for you. But today we're going to be taking a look at the final tutorial for the 25-day advent calendar we have been doing all month so far. Today's tutorial is going to be for one of my favorite farms in all of Minecraft, a gold farm. Now this isn't a giant gold farm, this is probably a mid-range, good starter farm. Most tiny ones you'll see are just one portal and there's really not much going on. This is a good in-between. It's not like a monster 4 or 8 portal farm, but it's not a piddly 1 portal farm. And because of that, I think this is a very good ending point for our advent calendar. This farm can get you to level 30 from level 0 in just about 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Redstone wise, it isn't very complicated. At the top, it's still pretty easy to understand, but there's quite a bit going on up here. And we have these pistons on the side of this torch tower, so whenever we aren't using it, they extend, preventing your nether portals from lighting. When your nether portals are lit, even when you're not using this farm, it causes a little bit of lag, but as I'm sure most of you know, when you have a small nether portal inside your bases, you'll occasionally find zombie pigmen wandering around because the portal spawned them in. Well, if these two portals were kept on all the time, even when you weren't using the farm, you would end up accumulating a good amount of piglins sitting at the bottom, and the issue is that would then start to cause quite a bit of lag. So to fix that, we added these two pistons here. And then at the top, the system for lighting the farm, we have this little lava pool with trapdoors. There are observers below the lava, and a little bit of a redstone block, sticky piston clock, I guess you would call it. But these are just constantly updating those observers, causing it to light the portals faster, because the lava wants to spread fire to the trapdoors a lot more frequently than it would without this little redstone system. And then to delight the portals at the top here, whenever you turn it on, this block, an observer gets pushed over into these open areas. The observer powers that block, jump starting this whole system, and then with this solid block being there, it can continue the circuit going all the way around. Basically, there is water in these two dispensers and empty buckets in these two, and this is on both sides. And what happens is this comes out, these two dispensers dispense water. After a 1-tick delay, these two pick up the water, and then these dispense it. After a 1-tick delay, these pick it up, and it just continues a cycle, constantly delighting a portal as efficiently as possible. Now, for storage at the bottom, we have got some hopper minecarts on top of hoppers that flow into a chest. And the trident killers, there isn't too much going on. We have observers, solid blocks, and powered rails. And above the powered blocks, and above the solid blocks, there are pistons that get powered. And then we have a little minecart track here, so you can effectively pick up XP by going right next to each trident killer. You don't need this minecart track here. You can just stand in the middle, but you get the XP a lot more efficiently, and well, you just pick it up a lot easier by going next to it. To power these powered rails, you have just got levers on the bottom of these 4 blocks, like so. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at this farm actually running. So this switch here on the right should activate our trident killers. And if we flick the switch on the left, the torch tower will go up, deactivating those 2 pistons and activating our water system. Now if we hop in this minecart, piglins will just start falling down, and then by the time they fall 20 blocks, they will be a 1-hit kill for our trident killer, and we will just pick up all of the XP. Let me head into survival so we can actually see the XP going into my XP bar. Now granted, I already am past level 30, so it is going to be a bit slower to get XP, but you're going to get a lot. You're going to get a whole lot of XP very quickly. Alright guys, now in terms of storage and how much this farm makes, hey, there's a donkey in the minecart. I did a 10-minute test. In 10 minutes, we got 7 double chests worth of gold swords, and that was with a looting 3 sword. If you hold a sword with looting 3 on it, you will get more items from these trident killers, and this kind of effect only applies to trident killers, so if you have a farm that kills them out with lava or something, you know, it won't actually do anything to hold looting 3 items, but for trident killers, it works beautifully. But 7 chests, 7 double chests worth of golden swords, so you're definitely going to want some sort of system to filter those out of there. In terms of actual gold and stuff, this is what we got in 10 minutes. So what you can see from this is if you were to run this for an hour, you'd probably be able to get close to 5 chests worth of rotten flesh, and very similar with gold nuggets. If you were to turn these nuggets into ingots, you would be able to get over 12 stacks of ingots for sure, probably close to 20 stacks of golden ingots per hour, and in just 10 minutes of running this farm, I was able to get a total of 53 levels, starting at 0. So I can guarantee you this farm is definitely going to give you a lot of stuff and a lot of XP very quickly, and it may become quite difficult to actually store all of the items. For instance, if you were to run this farm for an hour, you would get 42 double chests worth of golden swords. That's a lot. Anyway, now that we have covered all the details of this farm, for your use there will be a full materials list down in the description below, containing every item used to build this monster farm. And now, let's get into the tutorial. Alright guys, so the first thing you're going to want to do when it comes to setting up your farm is get ready to properly chunk align it. Now like I said earlier, on this side I had 4 blocks between the chunk border and the start of my farm. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go do that same thing on the other side. There were also 4 blocks behind the farm of open space before the chunk border. So what we're going to do is, because those portals are there, we're going to set us up in this chunk right here. So what I'm going to do is come down by 4 from the back, 4 from the side, and that would mean that this block right here is where I can work. On the 5th block of each side, this will be that back corner. We can now go ahead and remove our armor stand. We're not going to need this stuff anymore. To locate the chunk border, we can grab our stuff that will be needed for storage, and we can go ahead and start building our storage place. From that block, come down by 3 more, place in our chest here, and 4 blocks on the other side. Put 2 in the back, and 4 hoppers going into the back of this chest, just like so. Also guys, this tutorial is going to be a lot of you just watching. I'm not going to necessarily be describing so much what to do, because there is a lot to do, so just, you may end up pausing this video a lot. Once you have this in place, you can go ahead and place a solid block on top of any 2 hoppers, whether it's these 2 or these 2, does not matter. You can raise all these blocks around the outside up by 1 more. Above the chest, place 2 upside down stairs. This way you can still open them. If these were solid blocks, you would not be able to open your chest. Now on the 2 open hoppers, place a rail on each, and a minecart with hopper on top of both of those. Now you can put 4 blocks right there on top of your hoppers and minecarts, and now you can go ahead and put in your observers and powered rails. To do this, we're just going to place a powered rail anywhere, an observer facing into it, a solid block behind that observer, and another powered rail. You just do this all the way around until you have a full loop. Just like this. Now you can grab your normal pistons and place one on top of each one of these solid blocks next to the observer. Then you can grab 2 more solid blocks and fill in all of these gaps. So you should have a bit of a system that looks like this. Now what we're going to do is kind of fill in our floor area. So we're going to go over by 2 blocks and fill in this whole area. So you should have a 4x4 filled in like so. On the other side, we're just going to replicate this trident killer once again. So once again, kind of make our outline for our chest, put in our chest, hoppers in the back, raise this outline all the way around, again, 2 blocks in those locations, 2 rails, 2 hopper minecarts, 2 upside down stairs, 4 blocks on these areas, powered rails, observers, and solid blocks. All the way around. And voila. Now you place your pistons on those solid blocks again and fill in the gaps with solid blocks. So now you should have an area that looks like this with a little 4x4 platform in the middle. Now what I'm going to do is just add a little staircase going all the way up to make it easy for transport. So staircase like so, and then just for decoration I'm going to add blocks in all of these locations. Now on the back you can take this whole thing up by 2 blocks like so, and then I'm just adding some stairs and a bit of a headboard like on the back for decoration. Now what you can do is grab your glass and grab some slabs. On the corner of each trident killer, take your glass and go up by 3 blocks, just like this. And then when standing on your little platform, you can place your 2 slabs in all of these locations. This way you can still pick the XP up out of the farm. Now you can go ahead and grab your tridents, chuck 1 trident into each trident killer. Grab 2 levers, place 1 on each one of these blocks, flick them down, down will be the off position. Now you can go ahead and grab some solid blocks and some redstone, and we're going to hook up the power line to turn on and off our trident killers. Set up a little thing like this, where the repeater is being powered by the block that lever is on. Place redstone dust here, come out by 1 block in that direction, and 2 in this direction. Redstone dust on top of all 4 of those. 2 blocks in both of those locations. Redstone dust there with a repeater there. Redstone dust there with a repeater there. Your trident killer should go around once and then stop. And now whenever you flick the trident killer lever, your trident killer should both turn on and just keep circling. But we're going to go ahead and turn those off for the sake of our ears. Now what you can do is go ahead and fill in the rest of the glass around your trident killers just like so, even on top of those 2 slabs. And what you should have is something that looks just like this. Now what you're going to want to do is you don't need to go up on the corners anymore, you only have the corner blocks in there right here. So while pigmen are getting killed, they don't glitch out the corner. Now you can go up by an additional 17 blocks, only on these sections here. On both trident killer. Like I said, leave out the corners. Pause the video and come back once you have got the additional 17 blocks on your glass tube in height. Alright guys, now your glass tubes should be a total of 20 blocks in height. Now when it comes to these water streams at the top, to push your pigmen down the tubes, I'm going to use a different color glass just to make it easier for you to see what I am doing. So what we're going to do is, if we're looking at the top of our farm, we're going to go to the sides where the platform is, and on the other side of the tube, we're going to go up by 3 blocks on each one of these glass sides here, and place buttons on those 4 locations. Do that for both glass tubes. These are going to be here to hold the piglins in and stop water from flowing down the tubes. Now what we can do is on floor level, come out by 1 for each of these locations, and then go 7 blocks out this way in the opposite direction of that 4x4 platform on the ground. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now what we can do is put up 3 block tall walls all around these little waterways, just like this. Now come on over to the other tube, do that exact same thing, go 7 blocks in the direction that is opposite to the 4x4 platform at the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You can go ahead and add in those 3 block tall walls all around once again. Now you should have something that looks just like this. Now what you can go ahead and do is fill in this gap here, and then continue the wall all the way along, just to bring the 2 sides together. Don't forget to fill in this area with a wall here, so that the pigmen and water cannot escape. That is now 1/2 of your water channel complete. Go ahead and replicate this on the opposite side. Pause the video and come back once that step is complete. Alright guys, now that you have replicated that over to the other side, you should have something that looks like this. What I want you to do is go ahead and put a water is go to the edge of each side of these water canals, the very outside edge, place a block up, and place a water source in each and every single one, just like I am here. Once you have this done, all the water should flow just to the edges, like this, kind of making this little corner, leaving one of these blocks open. Now what you're going to do is go to the middle on each of these sides, and place one water source at just in one of the central two blocks. Now what you should see is on one of the sides, the water is flowing perfectly, kind of like this, and you'll get pushed in. But on the other side, there's going to be a static water section here where nothing gets pushed in it. On the side where there is a static water section, place another block under your water source like this, and that should fix the problem. On the other side, you should also have a static water block. Just place a block there like that once again, and now that'll be fixed on both sides. Now all your water is perfectly flowing. It's time to put in the portals. Alright guys, so when it comes to putting in your giant portals, you're going to need to get yourself a locator map. Now, when you're building in the north and south direction, pigmen will spawn on the south side of the portal, so you want to set it up so when they spawn in, the south side of the portal is where the water stream is. For east and west direction, the pigmen will spawn on the east side of the portal, so set it up on the east side of the portal, that's where the water stream is. Since I am in the north and south direction, I need to build the portals on the north side of the water stream. To do this, we're going to be making the biggest possible nether portals. These are 21 by 21. So you're going to just go all the way across your glass like this, leaving one block open on the edges. And then you're going to go up by 20 blocks. Once you've gone up by 20 blocks on both sides, you can go ahead and go across the top, making just one ginormous nether portal. Now go ahead and put one on the opposite side. Once again, keep in mind, depending on your direction, you need to place the nether portal correctly so that the pigmen can fall into the water stream. If you do it wrong, let's just say your pigmen are going to be falling not in the water stream, and you're not going to have a working farm. You're going to have to go rework it all over again, and I've done that before. It is no fun, trust me. Anyway, once you have your portals in, you can go ahead and discard of your locator map. You will not be needing that anymore. Now the next step is we're going to go back down to the bottom, grab out some redstone torches and solid blocks. Out the back of the second lever, place a redstone torch on the backhand side of that block, and place a solid block above it. We're just going to keep repeating this and doing a redstone torch tower straight up for a little while. Once you get to the point where there is one block above the glass, just like this here, we are going to place a solid block here and another one out. You can remove that first one, put a redstone torch on the side of that block, grab redstone dust, put it on this block here, and then you can place another block, another solid block, right next to that redstone dust, like so, with a redstone torch on it, and you can continue the redstone torch tower. We're just going to keep taking this tower all the way up until we are at the top of our nether portals with a depowered redstone torch. So once you are at this point where the redstone torch is level with the top blocks of your portal and it is depowered, that means you have done this correctly. What we are going to do is install these normal pistons to properly keep the farm from turning back on when not using it. To do this, we are going to place one next to this powered torch. It should extend into the way of this portal properly, out the back. Now go to the opposite side. We are going to place a solid block next to that torch with redstone dust above it, and then a piston. Because this is, a larger gap, you need this block here to actually make the piston reach into the way of the portal. Now that that system is in place, we can add in the water systems for deactivating our portal. Now to add these systems, we are going to make sure that they are lined up perfectly with the 2x2 block holes for our piglins to fall down. So what we're going to do is place blocks in these locations. These are in line with that hole like so. We can go down by 2. These are all temporary blocks, by the way. And we are going to just need 2 blocks We're going to need a block in all 4 of these locations like so you can place your dispensers on top, and then you can remove those blocks. So you should just have floating dispensers in line with this hole all the way up here. Now we can place solid blocks on top of those dispensers, redstone dust on top of those solid blocks, and solid blocks above the redstone dust, and on top of the portal, like so. Now we can come out and do 3 blocks, like so, on this side. And on the other side, 3 blocks like this. You're going to put redstone dust on this block, a repeater here, and a repeater here on 3 ticks. Have that 3-tick repeater running into a solid block, redstone dust next to it, repeater on 1 tick, repeater on 1 tick, repeater on 3 ticks. Now we can go ahead and place in our buckets. This is where the redstone signal starts on this side, so these closer 2 dispensers should have water buckets, while the far 2 should have empty buckets. Now that the buckets are in place, we can go ahead and install the piston observer system to actually jumpstart this. Place a solid block above that depowered redstone torch and put redstone dust above it. Now go in the direction that your water system is by 1 block. Grab your sticky pistons, place 2 facing that way, like so. Grab your observers, place 1 facing downward on that bottom piston, and a solid block above it. Now, if we just temporarily power this, it jumpstarts this water system, and you can see the water is getting placed and removed as quickly as possible. It has no time to start flowing. We can go ahead and remove that torch that we used to test it, put back our redstone dust. Now, let's repeat this on the opposite side for the second portal. Once again, line up with those 2 central blocks that the piglin are going to be falling down. Place in all the temporary blocks to place our dispensers on top of. Actually place in the dispensers. Remove those bottom 2 temporary blocks. Solid blocks on top of the dispensers, redstone dust. Solid blocks on top of the redstone dust and the portal frame. Go out the back like so, with a block here for repeaters to flow into. And then come back to this side with this little L shape. So we're going to have redstone dust here, repeater on 1 tick, repeater on 1 tick, repeater here on 3 ticks. That should be running into a solid block, redstone dust next to that solid block, repeater on 1 tick, repeater on 1 tick, repeater on 3 ticks. Now we can take this solid block with redstone dust above that torch tower, out 1 in this direction, put redstone dust above it, grab our 2 sticky pistons, place them in those locations there. Observer facing downward on that bottom piston, and a solid block there. We can now test the system, and I realized we forgot to put the buckets in it. These 2 dispensers on the inside, this is where the signal starts, so these are going to be the 2 that need to actually have water in them. Go ahead and put those buckets in there, and the 2 on the outside should start with empty buckets. Now we can go ahead and test our systems. And both of them should be placing and retracting the water as fast as humanly possible. We can now go ahead and break that test redstone torch and put back a piece of redstone dust. That is now your water systems in place, and the pistons to prevent your portals from lighting when not in use in place. Now the only thing left to do is install the system that will actually light your portals. To do this, you can go ahead and grab a sticky piston, a redstone block, redstone dust, observers, slabs, your lava, and a few solid blocks. Now, anywhere in between these portals, you can just fill in the gap between with 4 blocks. And then on the 2 bits closest to the portals, you can go out by 5. You go down by 1 and then out by 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Leaving this 2x2 area in the middle. Now on the side, have 2 observers facing downward, and then extend out 4 blocks of observers facing into that observer facing downward, just like this. You can now remove that lava, You can now place a temporary block here, a block above it, remove that temporary block, and go over by 3 more. So you should have like a little bed that looks just like this. Grab your trapdoors, place them in all of these 10 locations like so, and flip them all upward. What you should have is something that looks just like this, and now you can place a lava source on top of every single observer. Now you can grab your slabs and go ahead and just line this entire thing. This way it prevents the wrong section of your trapdoors from lighting on fire, and it just looks clean, keeping it nice and elegant. All that is left to do is add the little redstone system. Place a sticky piston on the face of one of the observers, facing towards the face of the other one, kind of like this. Place a redstone block on the face of that sticky piston. You can go ahead and place a temporary block here next to the sticky piston, go down by one, remove that temporary block, and have another solid block come out in the direction of that redstone block. Place redstone dust on top of both of those, and the piston should just start going back and forth, extending and de-extending. Now, assuming you actually built all of this properly, your farm should be fully operational. This lever will properly activate your trident killers, and if we flick the other one, it should properly deactivate those pistons and start taking the farm with the water depowering the pistons as fast as they can. Now you should be able to start sitting here and collecting XP. But to make that XP collection just a bit more efficient, we are going to install a little minecart track down here at the bottom for us to go around. Place 3 rails on the far outsides of each of those stations, like so. You can now place 2 powered rails in both of these locations. Depending on how this works, you may need to replace these powered rails for the trident killers in these locations, just like so. You can now remove this middle area. These 2 powered rails will be powered right now, but when you actually go to turn on your farm, they will get depowered. So what we're going to do is drop below into this little hollow area a powered lever underneath every single powered rail. And then you don't have to, but I think it looks a lot better, so I'm going to fill in this little 4x2 area behind the farm to keep it nice and flush. Now we can go ahead and fill in those 2 blocks in the floor that we removed. Grab your looting 3 sword, grab your minecart, place the minecart on the track, hop in it, turn on your farm, and start riding around while holding your looting 3 sword. Now you will start to get as many items as you possibly can, and you will get a large amount of XP. Anyways guys, this is going to be it for today's tutorial. I do sure hope you have enjoyed, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing. It makes me feel so good inside when I see that subscriber count go up, and I put a lot of effort into trying to design this gold farm. Anyways guys, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. This has been Mr. Gaming Aquatic, and I will see you next time. Bye!